Business Besties.
And we are super excited today to be here with an amazing guest who has so many different areas of her life that we're going to be covering.
Yes.
This is a person that I can say, I'd be like, yes, tell it. Please tell your truth. And I love how she does that, Meisha, really and truly, with just so much rawness, so much authenticity. And one thing I can say about it, she is unapologetic about it.
Unapologetic.
All of the time.
Always going to keep it real, guys. And just one that I just connected with on such a deep level when we initially met on the gram. It goes down in the DMs.
Is that how you met her too?
It goes down in the DMs.
I know, we always going in the DMs. That's
it goes
how
down in the DMs, but it was love at first gram. Love at first gram.
Yeah, I know. You might have to tell her to brand it, because you know she a beast at that kind of stuff.
Okay. Oh, Valentine's Day coming up too.
I know. But we are super
Yes.
excited to have Samantha here with us, the nurse Sam, that a lot of you all may know her by on Instagram. She is a phenomenal nurse. More than that, what I'm so intrigued with is that she is a phenomenal creator.
Creative, yes.
I be like, girl,
it's the creative for me. And
where
so
did you get that from?
she was like my BFF instantly, and she seen my creativeness. We was like,
y'all two together. I don't know if I can handle y'all two together.
It was love at the first DM. I will never forget it. It's been a vibe.
So we are excited to have the nurse Sam. Nurse Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So start off just by telling people who you are.
Well, after that amazing introduction, I don't know how I can compete. You know what I mean, honestly. But just as they introduced, my name is Sam. You guys may know me as Nurse Sam or the Nurse Sam on my socials. I am a licensed practical nurse and so very proud. Have been so for 8 years. I am creative, as they say, and I help nursing students thrive and survive in nursing school so that when they actually get through nursing school and graduate, take the NCLEX, pass NCLEX, and become awesome, amazing nurses, just like you guys.
Yay! I super love it. I love it so much. Just give us the inside scoop, right? On, we see it's hard on social. We see a lot on social of people, and we assume that that's them, but let's just talk about Samantha and her journey as a person to become the Nurse Sam. Let's talk about who you are as a person to become the Nurse Sam. What did that brief journey look like?
Briefly.
Man,
it's a lot. I started out as just a regular nurse, and the pivot actually came when I actually had my hysterectomy in 2018. And when I had my hysterectomy, I actually had to be on bed rest for about 3 months. It actually maybe it was like 4 months, 4.5, just because we had some complications. But during that time and during that process, quickly realized that I just would not be able to be the bedside nurse that I thought I was going to be. It just was not going to work physically for me anymore after the hysterectomy. And after, I can't remember how long it was that I was on bed rest, probably about maybe 2 months in, my husband had an amazing idea. He was like, well, you love to draw. Why don't you actually draw something, or why don't you actually continue to do study kits? Because when I was in nursing school, I drew all my study kits. I did everything creative. And while I was going through my healing process to take my mind away from everything that was happening and still make me feel like I was tapped into my nursing, I wanted to redo some of the study kits that I did so I could feel like I didn't lose my skills. And when I showed him, he was like, you did that?
Right.
By yourself? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, you should actually do something with that. And so the wheels started turning. And before I knew it, the Nurse Sam was born.
Wow. And before that hospital moment, what were you doing in nursing? Talk about that journey.
I was, as a licensed practical nurse, I was doing doctor's offices. I was doing nursing homes, subacute care, rehab. And I was just really just doing overtime with that and just being the best nurse I can be. At the time, everyone was telling me, oh, you're just an LPN. You should definitely go on and be be a real nurse now. So bridge and get your RN. And at the time I was listening. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So I applied to Indiana State, the online bridge for your LPN to BSN. I applied, I got in. And then I started getting sick with everything with the endometriosis. So I couldn't really do my prereqs the way I wanted to. And that would just was kind of on pause. But at that time, I was still enjoying being an LPN. I was still doing a lot that people said that I wasn't able to do. So I was still exploring the depths of what I could do as an LPN in the state of Georgia, because, scope of practice differs state to state. So, I had some people like out in Michigan say, oh, girl, you can't do this. And in Georgia, I'm like, oh, but I've done 20, so I don't know what you're talking about. Right. Yeah. So that journey in itself I still loved being a bedside LPN. It stopped when my health came into play. But before then, I loved it.
Wow. It's all about divine timing and understanding the seasons we are in. Ooh. And there was no mistake in your journey and in your path, right? Mm-hmm. And we often don't understand that until we get through it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not understand what was going on until, the other side. But while I was going through it, I was just like, why me? What in the world? What is happening?
Yeah. And even down to your role as an LPN, I know you're a huge advocate for LPNs, and I watch your content. Some days I'm like, ooh, child, she went there. I did. Listen,
unapologetically.
She will push your buttons. Go watch her account. And I love it though, because it shows how vocal you are and just how much of an advocate you are. Where did it come from? Talk about this advocacy for being an LPN. Because I love our RNs, but I don't advocate like that. So I'm like, where did this come from?
Personal experience.
Tell us about it.
Man, personal experience. I didn't realize the shade that LPNs have to put up with until I actually became an LPN and started working on the workplace. And a lot of people think that, that shade, that divide just is between RNs and LPNs, but it's really not. It's people at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, your grandma, your auntie, random people, like just random people. Grandma. Oh. It's usually family, and and it's them repeating what they see or what they hear, whether they're in the medical field or not. And that wasn't okay for me. I'm sorry, but you cannot work at Dunkin' Donuts and tell me what to do, and tell me that I'm not a nurse. You just can't. You just cannot.
So they would really say things like, I remember talking about people at these stores or whatever.
The wildest thing was during Nurses Week. Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and these other places, they have like free stuff for nurses. Mm-hmm. Being an LPN, I'm a nurse, so I want to get my free stuff. I want my free donut. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts, and the cashier was like, "Can I see your badge?" I was like, "It's right here. It said LPN." Yeah. She was like, "Oh, you're not a nurse, so you can't have one." In front of like at least 15, 20 people. That was the first time publicly that I had ever been like humiliated and like put on the spot and just called out in that way. And at the time I didn't know what to do or how to feel, so I literally just ran away and cried in my car because I didn't know what to do. And it was so hurtful to me, and it was false. But at that time I didn't have that strength or the words to say, the right words to say, because I didn't have words. But I'm probably gonna be in somebody's jail cell. but so I just like retreated and went to my car, and I was like, wow, this really does happen. And the fact that it just happened to me is not okay. Like, I'm not going to sit in here and take it. Absolutely not. Especially because, ma'am, how do you know?
Right. The cashier.
The nothing wrong with being a cashier, but you not gonna tell me that I'm not a nurse when I know I am. And the Board of Nursing, State Board of Nursing says I am as well.
Yeah. Right.
So if you're gonna, say a statement, exactly.
Yeah.
So that lack of education, I was just like, they probably, actually I can't even speak on them because they was really trying to embarrass me at that point. Mm-hmm. But, it sparked something in me. I was just like, other people deal with this every day. And since that moment, it made me hyper aware and hypersensitive to, people saying, oh, LPNs aren't nurses. Mm-hmm. And I started seeing it and hearing it every day.
Really?
Every day. It doesn't matter if I was at work. Doesn't matter if someone just like, oh my God, you're a nurse? Mm-hmm. What RN school did you go to? And I just, I'm not an RN, I'm an LPN. Wow. Oh. When are you going to be a real nurse then? Like clockwork. It's like a script that people would follow, and I was not okay with it.
That is so shocking to know that we see the divide in nursing like that.
Right. It was insane. And then, I had people tell me that, I've heard that not only from random people, but I've actually heard that from my actual instructor in LPN school.
Really?
Well, why are you an LPN instructor if you don't think LPNs are nurses? Why are you there? Why are you there? And so that culture and that toxicity it stems from the beginning while you're in nursing school, and it just goes on and on. And it just makes, the LPN feel like, okay, in order to escape this ridicule, escape these, people making fun of me, I'm just gonna go ahead and get my RN. Don't know if I wanted it or not, but at this point, I want it to stop. I want people to leave me alone. So I'm just gonna bridge. I'm gonna be a real nurse, like you guys say, so I can leave it alone.
This is deep.
Insane.
It's
That
very insane.
is crazy. That is bananas. So I know that there has been a lot of publications, peer-reviewed journal articles, social media, a lot of different written material. Some written material, especially when we talk about social media, that has no credibility. But then there are other peer-reviewed sources, right, that have published articles on licensure among nurses and what does that means for our patient healthcare outcomes and all of these different things. When you think about it from that lens, what is something that you have probably read in a written article or sometime maybe even on social media that really and truly just stirred something up in you? And why did it evoke that emotion? Especially when we talk about like peer-reviewed articles, because they are supposed to be the most credible, right? What is some of those things you've read, and why did it maybe really evoke so much emotion within you, especially coming from your peers?
Something that I see a lot, and even to this day, is when someone's talking about nursing, the field of nursing as a whole, they'll exclude LPNs from the conversation, or purposely like, okay, these are nurses, but these are LPNs. So they'll like separate the two. And that'll further make people think, okay, so LPNs really aren't nurses. Because if you're talking about nurses, but then you single out and exclude LPNs purposely, it's like, it's breeding this falsehood, and it really stirs something in me, and it makes me so mad. It's horrible. And besides, seeing people say, okay, LPNs aren't nurses, I'll see them, categorize LPNs in something else like allied health professionals. I see that all the time on travel nurse like websites and agencies all the time. They'll be like, oh, we do travel nursing, for nursing, but we also do travel allied health professionals for LPNs. I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I've seen that before too.
I've never seen that.
I've seen that divide, and I often wonder where they were coming from, because I don't have a lot of information in this LPN realm, and so that's why I really loved watching your content. I'm like, I never really experienced it. I didn't know how the divide was. But now that you're mentioning it, I have seen these subtle things, but didn't know what it was adding up to.
It's because people are so embarrassed, because once they reveal that they're an LPN, the questions and the judgment and the ridicule instantly starts. Wow. So a lot of times, especially before I started like really advocating for LPN, even I was guilty of it. To avoid people just like saying something mean to me, or because I know how I am, I would just be like, I'm a nurse. I'm Nurse Sam. On social media, Nurse Sam, with a nice emoji. I didn't want to put those letters, not because I was ashamed of it. It's because I knew what was going to come afterward. And sure enough, I tested my theory. I was like, you know what? Boop. Let me go ahead and put it in there. I didn't know you were an LPN. Wow. Are you really a nurse? DMs just full every day.
Are you serious?
Every day.
I find it crazy.
I guess I was just maybe ignorant to the fact.
It's because when you're an RN, a registered nurse, you don't see that happening because it's not happening to you, and that's not a bad thing. It's just you're not aware of what's happening, with the daily struggles that an LPN goes through, because you are the prototype. The RN is the real nurse that everyone wants you to be. So it's like when you reveal to someone, oh, I am an RN, they're like, okay, girl, do it. And then they may be like, say, oh, what about MP? And they may do it like that. But as far as like the basics of nursing, for society, you have to at least be an RN for them to like respect you. And anything less than that, it's like LPN, they either term you as an allied health professional or a glorified CNA or a glorified MA. I get that every day. And that makes people that want to go into nursing like scared to even like some people. I know for me, when I got into LPN, I couldn't afford a 4-year BSN. I could not do that. And at the time, I was working at Zaxby's, making 7 something an hour. And so to go from minimum wage to a year of my program to now making triple that, that's a big deal for me. And and I was proud of that. And as soon as I let people know, oh yeah, I'm an LPN. Oh. And so it just put a damper on my accomplishment, and that's exactly how everyone feels moving forward. So they just, instead of dealing with that, they're just like, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse.
Just leave it there.
Yep.
I want to thank you personally because through your content, just learning about it, I have a younger niece who loves what she does in geriatrics, right? And she's in nursing school, and the whole thing is, I think I'm going to do LPN, and she said, because I like what I do. And I know I have the opportunities here at my job, And I'm like, well, you can do tons of opportunities of whatever you want. And if you know what you want, what specialty you want, and it really aligns with it, why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like like you said, it's too much money to go to a 4-year school. So I'm trying to tell her the smarter way to move up in the journey and evaluate it from there. If you like what you do, why do you have to do what the consensus of everybody's telling you should do?
Exactly. No one's paying my tuition. No one's taking care of, my family at home while I'm in school and in books and clinicals for 4 years. No one's doing that. They're judging you for how you handle it, but they're not going to help you in any way. So it's the pull and push is just totally just off. And so at some point, I just got tired of it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm an LPN and I'm proud. And if you got something to say, you can go fund me. You can participate. You can contribute to my education if you want to. And then even from there, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to bridge to being on. I don't. And that's okay. And so that in itself, me saying that I don't want to bridge, now that opened the floodgates. That opened the floodgates. Oh, you are you're not aspiring to be anything, and you're letting people know that they should settle for the bare minimum. And oh yeah.
I kind of feel like we deal with that with the RN, NP bridge.
Everybody wants us. It's like, so when are you going back to NP school?
Right. I'm like, what are you?
I'm not.
The
pressure is there.
The pressure is definitely there, especially given our time.
Yeah.
It's like,
Something that you said just kind of made me have a thought when I shared. I never knew that, and you said, well, yeah, because most RNs don't. It kind of almost reminds me of being black in America.
Yes.
I promise you, that was the first. So what I heard you say was, yeah, because you're an RN, so you're not going to experience it.
Yes.
It's almost kind of like, well, yeah,
exactly.
You're not black, so you're not. That was the first thing that came, and I appreciate you saying that.
I do too, though.
I really
like that.
appreciate you saying that. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because I don't know. Because I haven't experienced it, right? Of course, I've worked with LPNs, some amazing LPNs that do amazing things in the healthcare space, period. Not just at the bedside, all around. So I've experienced them and their work ethic, just like any other nurse from that perspective, but never knowing the judgment.
Right.
Right. The judgment that sometimes comes with that. But that's definitely, when you said that, it made me think about me.
No.
A lot of people will message me, especially after I make a post, and people will be like, oh, but all nurses matter. And, we should all work together.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. It does take me to the racial premise. And when she said that, originally when you told your story, the first thing I thought about was how insulted I felt when I walked in my patient's room and they said, my trash is full. When are you going to empty it? And they just thought I was there to do housekeeping work and not save their life.
Absolutely.
And I remember that humility feeling in my younger nurse years and really feeling like, what just happened? And that divide. That divide that happens in the healthcare system.
So with me, I am an educator, nursing educator, and I do it at the BSN level. And I've been doing that since 2014 when I started adjunct. And so one of the things that we're always looking at is entry into practice, right? Entry into the practice of nursing. A big part of that entry of practice is how can we, for a lack of better words, pretty much come into one lane that people go into nursing. And there has been, I'm going to be very honest, a lot of conversation surrounding should BSN be the way that you come into nursing. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? We have these conversations, and these conversations happen all the time within nursing education and within academia. So when you hear something like that, right, as an LPN, tell me, what do you think about that?
Honestly, I think of like the privilege, because people automatically think that 4 years is something that you can just do, whether it's financially, whether it's because of time, kids, family, or maybe just health wise. Some people just, like me physically, I could not physically do 4 years. And that should be okay. That's, and it is okay. That's why we have ASN. That's why we have LPN. We have all these different routes, so you can achieve what you want to achieve at whatever pace that you want to go. And if you want to bridge and go forward, that you have your bridge programs. You have LPN to ASN. You have LPN to BSN. When I was going through it, when I expressed I didn't even express it, but people expressed to me that they wanted me to go and be an RN because I was too smart to just be an LPN.
Wow.
I didn't know what that meant, but I got that oh my God, I got that weekly, all the time. And so I started believing, I am too smart to be just an LPN. I didn't even know what that meant. Right. I was like, I am too smart. And so let me just go ahead and bridge. It was like, but don't just bridge to anything, bridge for your BSN specifically. Really? And it was just like, okay, so even if I did bridge and go get my RN, if I got my ASN, you're literally telling me that I would still go through the ridicule? And that was not okay for me. It just was not. It just was not.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't.
Wow.
That is definitely, you just made me think about that, because those conversations do happen. And so what again comes to my mind, you said, I think of privilege. That was profound.
Yeah.
Because again, it helps me, and I'm being honest with you, it's helping me to really understand sometimes the biases that exist that we didn't even know that I had, or the lack and the ignorance that's there. Honestly, if I can be very, very honest, because it's almost like saying, I'm a black woman, but you're a black woman. Maybe go try to do this so that you can be another race.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're teaching me that. That's why I say that you're really helping us.
And that's what I wanted my platform to do, to be able to educate, a lot. And I won't say a lot of people, because a lot of people know what I'm trying to do, but just you have those the hecklers.
Do you have any social media beef or dramas with people who are like, that is not true?
Oh, absolutely.
We are not like.
Oh, absolutely. You should see my TikTok.
What about people what about people that are maybe like in nursing leadership roles, like major leadership roles? Really?
But like, you're teaching them the wrong thing. You're teaching them to not go for their dreams. I'm just like, who are you? And that ignorance from, when you say the word ignorance, especially when it comes to LPN, you have the people that just genuinely don't know. Because like I said, the other LPNs they've been hush-hush because they don't want to, turn the attention and the ridicule on themselves. So they don't even tell you about the experience. So for me speaking up for LPNs is like, honestly, the first time a lot of people have heard the things that we go through. And we have people that are just genuinely like, oh my gosh, are you serious? That's really a conversation? That's really an argument? Absolutely. Every day. They hear it every day. And that opens their eyes to just be like, oh my gosh, there's really more that's going on in the world, especially for LPNs. And then you have some other people that they're just ignorant because they want to be. They're just ignorant because they want to be. Oh, LPNs, even though they call them nurses, to me, they're not a nurse. And I was like, well, good thing you don't sign my checks, love. You don't matter. So it's like, I try to educate and give that education, that point of view. But if people just aren't going to get it, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. So the other people that do want to get it, that's why, I'm really here for. And then, the LPNs that feel like they have a voice and they feel like they have someone speaking up for them.
I know they love that.
Oh my gosh.
I've had an LPN reach out to me who felt ridiculed and belittled, and she said, I was so embarrassed to move forward with my dreams. I pushed myself to go back for my RN. I completed the program and then failed the NCLEX. She said, and I am so tired. of taking this NCLEX, trying to pass, and she said, I've just accepted the fact that I'm an LPN. I'm not even going to try it no more. And she told me that in private how hard it was, challenging, because she just was tired of getting ridiculed and feel like she couldn't live up to her dreams because of her letters.
Yeah. Right.
And that's crazy.
That's so sad.
Yeah. I did not know. I'm just learning a lot through you guys, and it's good because
good information.
It's good because you don't often see the divide, like you said, when privilege exists.
Yes.
And that's a crazy word to pull, but she's on it.
You on it.
Because I didn't recognize what was happening until you made it such a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's dope.
And a lot of people will come and they're like, is this really an argument that goes on? every time I post something about LPNs, it's like, is this really an argument that goes on? I'm like, look at the comments. Just look at the comments. I won't have to say anything. Just look at the comments. If you think I'm just in this and just making this up, just
look
read
at the comments.
Right.
Yeah.
Just read it.
Yeah.
And there's no way that I'm making this up or we're just pulling this up. We're just super sensitive. If literally almost every LPN that you come across has that same story. If you ask them, whether or not they tell you straight up and forward, most likely not, because they don't want to deal with it. But if you sit an LPN and ask them, like, have you ever felt, they'll be like, oh yeah, either it started when I was in school, it started when I was so proud I got accepted. So yes, I got into LPN school. And then most likely
your
family or friends, they'd be like, oh, why don't you just do real nursing? When are you gonna be an RN?
That one got hurt too from family.
It starts that hurt, and then when you get into the workplace, you have, even with my patients, whether they knew or not, they'd be like, what kind of RN are you? What?
We have to learn to embrace the journeys of one another and allow, like I said, giving grace is important. Allow people to be where they are. That same pressure you get, I see it in my family too.
Yeah.
When are you going to go back for your MP? You've been a nurse long enough. Don't you want to be a nurse practitioner?
Yeah.
What kind of question is that?
Right. Right. Why can't you just be like, congratulations and great job and everything you've accomplished?
Right.
What else do you want to do? That there's a certain way. There's ways that you can ask questions like, oh, do you want to bridge? Do you want to go further in your education? Instead of just putting it on someone like, oh, when are you going to be a real nurse? When are you going to do this? When are you going to be the president of the United States? Sir, ma'am, I don't know. I do not know.
Yeah. What do you say to those right now who feel under pressure? They may be LPN, trying to figure out, oh my God, I need to bridge because I'm not good enough. Or they could be an RN, I'm not good enough, I don't have my MP. What do you say to those people in particularly? What would you talk to them right now?
Silence the noise. I really tell people, don't even tell others what your plans are. Really talk to your family. When I say family, like your immediate family, the people that are going to be affected, whether or not you stay whatever you are or bridge, talk to your family, and just really ask yourself the question, are you really doing this because you want to, or because society is telling that you have to do this? And when I tell people that, they'd be like, you know what? I'm actually okay with being an LPN. I actually love what I do. I'm doing everything that I want to do as a nurse, as an LPN, because I'm a nurse. And so that realization, me telling people it's okay to stay an LPN, like it is okay. And just hearing me say those words is giving people enough confidence to be able to stay LPN and make that decision. And I'm like, but if you want to bridge and that's really your decision, do that. And so.
So I know we have some other facets of nursing we definitely want to get into because there's so much more to you than just being a nurse. You got so much more we're going to get into. But before we do that, finally, just in that space there, what you're making me think of is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So when you think about especially that inclusion part, right, and you think about the future going forward, what does that inclusivity portion of being a nurse looks like to you for all nurses? Because that's what inclusivity is, right? It's for all. What does that look like for you?
To me, that looks like accepting other people's journeys, no matter if it's different from yours, the same, superior, inferior, whatever. Just accepting other people. And as a nurse, we should, just like people say in my comments, as a nurse, we should all come together. Absolutely, but what steps do we take to actually get there? What mindset do you have? when you aren't on social media, because you know it's fine on social media to be like, oh, I'm for LPNs, so you can get a bunch of likes, but behind closed doors and in clinical settings, are you really doing that?
Yeah,
Are you really advocating on the job site when it
Yeah.
comes to you being short-staffed on your unit, and because that person's an LPN, you're not hiring them? Are you
Right.
really fighting in that leadership room
That's very
to
true.
make sure they hire LPNs for that role?
Absolutely. Or are you just putting a post up because you know that's the hot topic right now, and you want a bunch of likes?
Seen that too many times. Girl.
Yeah.
I remember there was a widely known nursing company that wanted to work with me as far as like my creativity, and when they wanted to put me on the website, they literally said to me, well, we know you're an LPN and we don't want to cause any drama, so we're just going to exclude the fact that you're an LPN and just call you nurse. I had a shirt on that said licensed practical nurse. They literally took off the letters.
Oh, snap.
They literally took off the words and just grayed it out and just made it just a black shirt, just so they wouldn't get backlash for the LPNs.
Did you continue in that partnership?
Oh, no, I did not.
I was
I
about
did
to
not.
say.
I did not.
Because it's almost like they stripping you of who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
And trying
not
to
that you're
make
just a
me,
nurse, but yeah, you
and
know?
trying to make me more, palatable for them and the nursing community. And absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not going to silence me and erase me, what makes me me. People know me, Nurse Sam, for my LPN and my creativity. If you take away one of those, I'm not Nurse Sam.
Right.
I know you don't want me to be an LPN, you want me to be this, but that's not the reality. And either you accept me as a whole, or you go find another RN to do it then. I don't know what to tell you, but it's not me. Oh yeah.
So we definitely want to get into my true life story.
Yes,
Meisha is
yes.
fascinated with that. I think it's their creative brains.
I think it's
Of
so
you too.
genius. Not only the true life, let's even go in to the creativity of nursing.
Yeah.
Because we've only talked about one facet of you, which is the
Small,
LPN.
yeah.
Let's talk about the creativity.
'Cause,
How
girl.
did you, and what drives you to be as creative as you are? How has that been stirred up?
I've always been like creative, even from like a young age. I've always been like artistically inclined. But I will agree and say that in the past couple of years, like my creativity has definitely like even surprised me sometimes. I'm like, oh wow, I came up with that. And I think it's because I know that I have a story to tell, and the way in which I do that, like I really try to sit back and say, okay, what ways can I tell the story that either has not been told before? And me being an LPN really drives that, because that's a story that people don't really want to hear, and so I have to put a creative spin on that to make people actually more be able to actually digest it.
Yeah.
And so just coming up with different ways that I can come across or say different messages that really just it sharpened my creativity over the years, and just I ran with it.
I love it. You said what I'm going into. There's often stories and parts of stories of people's life people don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so the true life story, amazing story, right? And the way you made it creative is what made it so amazing to me, because people don't want to hear that.
Absolutely.
As a woman, and me specializing in women's health, it really impacted me for the two reasons, and because I don't have children, number two, but as a woman, I feel like the society has this pressure that we have to be a mother to be a woman.
Yeah.
And when I see your true life story, I really want you to speak on that, just telling them what I'm talking about when I say the true life story, and how has it impacted your womanhood, and what have you done to embrace it or get over that piece?
I'm totally not gonna lie to you guys. When I first had the hysterectomy, I was definitely down in the dumps. I felt like less of a woman, and a part of that was because of everyone telling me, like when I first had to deal with the possibility of having the hysterectomy, everyone, my family and my friends that I, told it to, they was like, no, fight harder, keep your uterus, you're gonna have kids, and it just made me but at the time, well, not even at the time, that was not going to be my story. Like at the end of the day, it was a life or death situation. Like it's either have a uterus or, or die. And people just did not want to accept or grasp that. I was like, I literally don't have a choice, guys. And even from there, they were just like, well, you can be a mother, any type of, there's a bunch of kids that you can adopt. And no one was telling me, hey, you're going to be okay. You're still a woman. Whether you have kids or not. Be the rich auntie that just,
Okay. Rich auntie to society is over here.
Society and just live your best life. And, no one was telling me that. And just like with the LPN thing, I had to be my own cheerleader in that aspect. And I will say my husband had a great impact on that, because even when I didn't feel, up to being, the best me I could be, or even if I didn't feel like a woman, he would always remind me, like, don't listen to them, stop it. And so that reinforcement is really what helped me, and I wanted to be that reinforcement for other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
it is a lot. And I never really thought about it in that aspect. Like, I've always had to be so strong about it. And even when I talk about it, like, it doesn't bother me. I can talk about it freely. But having people, like, just talk about the story, but really digging deep and like how it affects your womanhood, no one's really ever asked me that. That threw me off a little bit.
Hey, I know, because I even feel like in my mid-30s with no children alone, the pressures, when are you having children?
Right.
And it's a very offensive question to me. So that's why I really wanted to know from your standpoint, too, just how it feels. It is. It really affects the womanhood.
Oh, yeah. Especially when, like, you reveal, like, I'm married. Okay, when are you going to have kids next? When I say random people in public will ask me. When I say people at the bank, like, just random, like, and it just, you can't really heal from it if someone's, like, ripping the Band-Aid off, whether you least expect it or not. Like, I'm in Publix with some milk. Is this yours when you're having kids? Ma'am, I don't know you. Can you not? And it's just like, okay, do I say, oh, never, I had a hysterectomy and make you feel weird and awkward? Or do I just go ahead and swallow it and take it? Or just lie and just be like, oh, I don't know, I'm thinking about it, And having to deal with that in itself, like, okay, do I reveal my truth to this person that does not know me, but they're just all to my business? Or do I just lie to just appease them, but I know the truth on the inside, and so the person that's disturbed is me. So it's like, okay, whose energy am I trying to protect? Yours, person I don't know, or mine? And I just got tired of putting myself on the back burner, whether it was LPN, was about kids, I just know.
So you got creative with all of it.
I got creative with all of it.
And you told the story. I love it. One thing that you said going through that journey was how instrumental your husband was in that. And I know personally women that have went through something similar, and they didn't have that much support from their husband, right? Especially if it was a new marriage, or even if it wasn't, right? Because they had this idea that they were going to have children. I even have one person that I know, he had children with someone else, right? Whole different story. But what I want to get back to, what did that mean to you to have your husband to be able to support you like that? And then first off, even before we get there, how did you have that conversation with him? Like, hey, babe, this is what's going on. I have to have a hysterectomy. We may not be able to have kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that conversation go?
It is taking me back, and I remember the awkwardness. I remember me being so scared because when I actually had the procedure, we were married that Sunday. So we were married 5 days before I had to have that surgery. Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Not even a week. Not even a weekend. And, I had to have the conversation, and honestly, my surgeon had to have the conversation with him, like, if it's coming down to it, kids or your wife.
Wow.
And he was like, that's not even a question. My wife, please. Thank you so much.
Right. We're newlyweds.
Right. Not even, we weren't even married at the time.
Wow.
When we started having the conversation, when it was a possibility, we were engaged.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And literally 5 days before the surgery is when we actually got married. And at that point, we had already made the decision. He already made it clear. He was so finite in that decision, like, you versus kids, it's you all the time. Yeah. Like, I'll get you a Tamagotchi, I'll get you a puppy. We can adopt if you want. At the end of the day, like, there is no us without you. So that's not even a question to me. And that confidence, and he was just so sure, like, okay, this isn't a question. And while in my mind, I'm just like, I don't know, is he gonna leave me? Is he gonna cheat on me? I don't know what the case is gonna be. And his confidence, and he was just so sure in that definitely bled onto me and definitely helped me through some of my dark times and my, indecisiveness. Even though it was, like my life or another life, I was torn. Yeah. I was honestly torn, because even from before this, everyone that's always known me know that I've always wanted to be a mother. I've always dreamed of that. And so to deal with that question and that, fork in the road in my life was definitely a dark time and just an unsure time for me. Mm-hmm. And so, but his confidence in, like, I choose you, and that really helped me.
That's important. Good. Yeah. That's good.
So I love it. I love to see
just having that support from your mate. You know what I'm saying? That authentic, raw, real, vulnerable support. Because you can't always have that in people. Right. And sometimes that means your mate, your spouse, or whomever that is. So just having that support. Yeah. I know it's really, really amazing. Good. Yeah.
Even then, I felt guilty. I was just like, you probably wanted to have, this family, and then here I come, 5 days after you say our dues, it's just that rug's been taken from under us. So I was just like, I wouldn't even be mad if you bounced. I'd be mad if you cheated, but but I would not be mad if you bounced. And even after the actual surgery, like, we still had a long road to go. Yeah. We had bed rest. Wow. He was the one that took care of me when I could not take care of myself. And for newlyweds, that's very, very.
That's a different way to bring in your honeymoon.
Yes, we still have not had
one. Honeymoon, different.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the resilience there, and God, or you're a believer. The vows that you exchange, and they say the thicks, the thins, and the ups, the downs. Man. You've already weathered the storm. Mm-hmm. And we don't never know how the game is going to test us. Listen, we don't know.
That's it. And just knowing what I've learned is that the story is about me, but it's not for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Always. It's about me, but it's not for me, because somebody in that path, y'all gonna meet, and they were like, "We're going through this. We don't know what to do." Yeah, we've been there, done that. Let me tell you what we did that worked for us. That this may help you all. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I enjoyed that.
Yes, I really enjoyed having you.
Yes. So Meisha has, I don't know what she gonna ask you.
Yeah, I got some questions. And I'm going to throw them all out and get your raw, honest truth. No, she keep it real. That's why I couldn't wait for this conversation. Because I love how real you are. Here's some random questions. Would you rather have to shave all your hair or lose all your teeth?
Hair.
Would you pee in the shower?
Yep.
What is the one thing that you own that you wish you didn't?
Like purchased? Or just
says what's the one thing that you own?
You wish like I could get this away. Like I don't even want it.
Surprisingly.
Wow, that one's hard.
Okay.
Oh man.
Something that's maybe costing you a lot of money, or I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know.
So she want to keep it all. She don't want to get rid of it.
Because I've gotten rid of everything I don't want.
What is harder for you to give up, coffee or alcohol?
Alcohol. Boom.
Okay.
Y'all know this.
I can't wait for this one. What would you do if you ran out of toilet paper in a public bathroom after you took a big poop?
I'd assess the situation, see if I'm in the bathroom alone. Hello? If nobody say nothing, I'm just gonna go to the next stall politely and quietly, and just run and get a couple squares.
That's definitely a nurse for you. Say she gonna assess the situation. Only a nurse gonna say I'm gonna assess it.
Right. Hello?
Yes. Is anybody else home? Yeah. Yes.
And somebody is there. Would you mind just underneath it, just really quick? Thank you so much, ma'am.
I love it. Thank you.
I love
for
it. I
participating
love it. I
with
love it.
our Tell the Truth question
Yes.
today.
Yes, this has really been an enlightening conversation.
Yes.
You have taught me a lot. I want to be very honest and transparent. You've changed my mindset. I've always been a public supporter of LPNs. I want to make sure we're very clear on that. I've always been very public in my support because I feel like for me, I'm a huge advocate for healthcare outcomes. And when we think about that, especially within vulnerable populations, we need multiple levels from which people can enter the field so that we can address these issues.
Absolutely.
And let's not get caught up in titles. So I've always been a huge advocate for that. And so you taught me a lot today and gave me some light bulb moments that I'm gonna forever just take with me and just in my conversation. So thank you for that for being honest.
Yes, thank you so
It was
much. It's been a
amazing.
pleasure. Please tell our listeners how they can keep in touch, what you got going on, what
Yes.
you want them to know about.
All this creative stuff.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
came out, was it Megan? What was the latest thing you came out with? Something Megan Thee Stallion?
Oh, was it the?
Somebody had asked you, I saw you posted, somebody
Oh, it was
asked,
the
could I
Nicki
come
Minaj.
out?
It was the Nicki Minaj EKG one. Yeah, I did the Cardi B and the Beyonce one. It was like, do Meg Thee Stallion. I was like, okay. So now I've got to get my wheels turning and say, how am I going to get Meg Thee Stallion related to nursing school content? So that's still going in my head. But you guys know when I do come out with something, it's gonna be it. As far as where you guys can find me, you can find me on thenurseam.com. I create and sell creative study kits and other resources to help LPNs and RNs thrive and survive in nursing school, pass that NCLEX, and become amazing nurses that we can all work together for better patient outcomes. You can find me on Instagram at the Nurse Sam. You can find me on Facebook at the Nurse Sam, TikTok at the Nurse Sam 1, and on Twitter I am the Nurse Sam.
All right. Thanks again so much.
Thank you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
That's so fun. Thank you guys so much for having this and for welcoming this conversation, especially about LPNs when you guys are RNs yourself. Thank you so much. You know, this will definitely be an eye-opener for everyone that thinks that there's beef between LPNs and RNs, especially between me and RNs. I'm just like, some of my closest peeps are RNs. What are you talking about? So thank you guys again. I've had
Appreciate it.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you.